Alright, hello and welcome, and today I'm going to be going over how to make a coil pot. So there are two ways that you can start a coil pot. The first way is with a slab or a flat piece of clay, and then the second is with a pinch pot that I have already made. So a couple tools that we're going to need, or a couple things that we're going to need, is obviously we're going to need a little bit extra clay. We're going to use a needle tool, or you can use a toothpick as well. I have a little bowl of water here. I need a wooden tool, preferably with something like this little spoon shape on it. And I'm using a paintbrush for water, but you don't have to, it's up to you, right? So no matter how you are starting your coil pot, the first thing that you need to do is obviously roll some coils. So I'm just gonna take this big piece of clay, and I think that rolling coils is easiest if you start in your hands like this. And then once it kind of gets to maybe a little bit thicker than your thumb, then you're gonna start rolling it on the table. Now, one thing that's really important and something that I see a lot is when people are rolling their coils, they just go like this. So they're basically just rocking the clay back and forth, which is how you might get a flat side of your coil. However, what you want to do instead is to make a complete roll, so the coil actually rolls over itself like once or twice. So you want to make sure that you're rolling far enough so that the coil is making complete rolls. And then I think it's also easiest to start when you're rolling, to start with your hands in the center, and then as you are rolling it back and forth, my hands are spreading out, okay? And areas that I see of the coil that are a little bit thicker, I'm basically doing that process of starting in the center and rolling my hands outward, okay? I know that it's got this little crack in it. I should probably fix that before I move on, because that would be a great way to get some air pockets. I'm actually gonna restart. So starting within my hands like this, and then I'm gonna roll it out. Now, the general rule of thumb is to keep things about as wide as your pinky. So if you look, my coil is about as wide as my pinky finger, which is perfect. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with my little slab one, I'm gonna start with the pinch pot. Because what you wanna do in order to build a vessel straight up is you want to wrap the coil so that it's sitting directly on top of the rim, not off to the side like this, but directly on top, all right? And once I have wrapped it, I'm going to cut off the excess like that. I'm gonna smush the ends of the ring together and then remove it, okay? I'm gonna do basically the same thing for the slab one, except I wanna keep the coil so that it is around the very edge, okay? If this is a good size for me, if I want the width of the coil to be how wide the inside is, then I can instead wrap the coil around the edge. Either works, right? It depends on what you need. So I'm gonna wrap it around the top like this, cut off what I don't need, smush the rings together, and then remove it, okay? So what we need to do now is we need to start scoring. I'm gonna use my needle tool for this, but you could also use a toothpick. The more scratches, the better. I'm actually gonna scratch this way. Some people like to scratch like this. I think it's a lot easier to just go around like this.
I'm gonna really scratch up the rim of my pot. Good.
Looking good. Then I'm gonna take my coil and I'm gonna scratch up the side of my coil. All right, so I have the scratched up coil and the scratched up pot. All right, now you could use your hands for this. I'm gonna show you what it would look like with your hands, but now you wanna take your water, and I just like dip my hands in it like that, and I just wet all of the scratches. If you wanted to use a paintbrush to make your life a little bit easier, stop it and then just dab the water on there, okay? So we scratched it up, that's the scoring part. We added water, that's the slipping. Now we're gonna start the blending process. So I'm gonna take the side that has all the scratches on it and I'm gonna put it on top of the rim so that the scratches are touching. And I'll smush it down just a little bit. I'm just like kind of patting it. Then this is where our wooden tool comes into play. I think it's easiest to hold the pot like this with where it's balancing on your fingers, and you want to take the back of the spoon part of the tool, and you want to start dragging the clay, because to blend things really well, you don't want to be able to see the line or the seam of your coil, of where your coil meets your pot. So as you can see right here, there's this nice big line here. If I don't blend it very well, you can still kind of see that line. But if I blend it really, really well, you won't be able to see that line. So you're gonna go all the way around the perimeter of your pot. But you also, sometimes it's easier to hold it like this, sometimes it's easier to hold it like this. Really, you gotta work with what's most comfortable for you. But what's most important is that I'm using my hand to support the inside walls of the pot, and not just like, I don't even want to do it. I'm not just like sitting there like this or trying to blend it like this, because I have nothing to support it. So you want to support the inside of the pot, or whatever side you're not blending, okay? After you've done the outside, you want to do the inside as well. So I'm just blending. Okay, and I've got this first coil attached, scored, slipped, and blended. Okay, I'm gonna move over to the smaller pot for a second. And this is the one with the slab base. And what I'm gonna do to score and slip and attach it is I'm gonna score, because I wrapped it just around the rim. I'm gonna score the very edge of it like that. Okay, then I'm gonna score this up. So I scored that, then I'm gonna wet it. I'm just gonna use the paintbrush to wet it, it'll be easier. And then the scratch sides go together, okay? With a flat base, it's a little bit harder to blend because there's not as much, you can't really balance it on your fingers. So you kind of just have to find the way to hold it best. And I think I'm gonna hold it like this. So as you can see, I'm supporting the inner wall, which is going to make it easier for me to blend this together.
Sometimes you can even go to the side instead of just dragging up and down.
All right, and then to do the inside, I'm just gonna take the tool and just gently press down and out to blend that. Cool, that looks pretty good. So when you're blending, when you're doing your coil pots, one thing that's also helpful just to make building them a little bit faster is you don't have to score, slip, and blend them all one at a time. So I'm gonna measure this, take it off, move it, then I'm gonna make another coil. All right, is that when you are attaching these, you can score and slip multiple. So I'm gonna do the back side of this too.
Scoring all these up. This is hanging out my bread. And this one's gonna be attached on mine, this one.
Then I'm gonna slip this. Stick this one on top. Snip it up. Stick the next one on top. Slip it up. Slip up this one. And stick it on top. I would say don't try to attach more than 3 coils at a time. And sometimes even like 2 might be enough. If 1 is enough, then do that. And this can just help it go a little bit easier, but it is a little bit harder to do. So as you can see, I'm supporting the inner wall with my pointer finger, my left hand, and I'm just blending this out.
Inside.
So this can help just make the pop making process go by a little bit faster, but like I said, it is a bit harder to do. So do this at your own risk, I guess. And yeah, that's how to make a coil pot. You would just keep repeating that process until it's the height that you want it to be.